A heated discussion over 3D printing is underway south of the border after a judge put a stop to the sale of designs of 3D printed guns. But what does this mean for Canada and the GTA?
What's great about the Wiki weapon is it only needs to be lethal once. I mean, that's the idea, right? The fact that it works, if but once, or perhaps only because it works once. And we've now crossed the threshold. We're there. We will have the reality of a weapon system that can be printed out from your desk. Anywhere there's a computer, there's a weapon.
That's Cody Wilson, the founder of Defense Distributed, a U.S.-based company. He's behind the 3D gun blueprints. Just yesterday, he was ordered to suspend operations, though it's been widely reported that the blueprints have already been sold thousands of times, and there's concern they've already been circulating further. They're called ghost guns, plastic weapons that can fire bullets and can pass undetected through security systems. They're unmarked and untraceable, and anyone, anywhere in the world can get their hands on these weapons. U.S. politicians and advocates spoke out saying these blueprints are a threat to public safety.
These downloadable firearms are available even to those who could not pass a background check. It's the ultimate gun loophole. Why buy them if you can print them at home instead?
If you can have these 3D weapons created, it's a game changer, because now you can have a proliferation of weapons across all countries, despite the fact that it's just a U.S. website.
As efforts are underway to curb gun violence in Toronto, officials are also addressing how these weapons get into our city in the first place. A contributing factor, our neighbors down south. This criminal lawyer says it's difficult to say whether or not the injunction on the U.S. website will be held long term.
My hope is, of course, that it continues to not be live, but if, for example, given that they have a constitutional right to guns and you have a very strong NRA, it is possible it can go live, and that will affect Canadians, not just Americans.
Are there current regulations here in Canada that reflect 3D printing? This is a relatively new technology.
It is, and I will say that our laws include imitation firearms. So whether this would be, in my opinion, if a weapon can be created in similar model of a real firearm, then it would be covered under the criminal code.
So these are just some sample objects that's been downloaded online.
3D printers are becoming more and more accessible, including at some libraries across Toronto. But there are already guidelines and restrictions around how this technology is used.
We pretty much have no limits on what you can create, but we do have a few restrictions. You can't print weapons of any kind, obscene materials, or anything that contravene the Toronto Public Library's rules of conduct.
And why was it necessary to put these regulations in place?
So when we were creating our service, we did actually read about the fact that people could 3D print things of all kinds. So we just wanted to make sure that we enforce policies.
How is it monitored to ensure that people's plans are coming out exactly as intended?
So all 3D design files are vetted by staff before they can be printed.
These machines are relatively new in the public sphere, so ahead on City News, how do 3D printers work and why do members of the public use them? We've been talking to you about 3D printing and how recently a judge down south banned the 3D printing of gun plans. Now, this right here is a relatively new technology to the public. I'm joined now with Zachary Barr. You're with the Printed House Limited.
Yes, I am. Yes.
So you can pretty much print anything.
Almost anything. Almost anything you can imagine we could print. People send us their files. We vet them out, take a look at them, see if they're print ready, and then we'll send them to print.
Do these items last a long time? Do they have a lifespan at all?
It depends upon which material you're using. I like to say with some materials they'll last as long as we do, and some materials they'll last about 5 to 10 years.
And so how broadly used are 3D printers and who are they used by?
Oh, it's broadly used. It's used from here on Earth and outer space. There's a doctor that's come to visit us who has actually made a 3D printable file that's used on the space station. And they've talked about using it on Mars to actually help build some of the housing that will be there.
Are there certain files that you wouldn't print here?
Yeah, we try to keep away from anything that might cause someone harm or anything like that. We wouldn't print a knife or anything like that for customers.
So Zachary, what do you think is the future of these 3D printing machines?
I think the future is always building.
Perfect. Our thanks to Zachary for City News. I'm 570.